Alright guys, last video for the day. I promise I'm getting dehydrated. I'm starting to see things. I'm hallucinating. I'm giving you everything I got. But this is the last video for the day. And essentially what we are going to do is address one of the PowerPoints as I said I would be doing. So under the research paper section, if you click here, you go to writing to analyze and you click on PowerPoint presentations, you will see that there are two PowerPoint presentations available for you now. Next week, there will be two additional PowerPoints added to this section in regards to analysis as we focus on cultural and minority analysis as well. However, today we're going to start to analyze things and we are going to look at analysis through this sort of lens and see what analysis is all about. So if you click on the starting to analyze PowerPoint, it will download and you can open it up. And here we see writing to analyze. And so when we analyze things, we are essentially saying to the audience, here's a particular topic. Here is how I want you to look at it based on the observations I've made, based on the research I have, based on the perspective that I've gained through various avenues. If you happen to take me in 1101, we sort of covered this particular idea a bit generally. However, for this particular topic, if you happen to do an analysis essay, your goal is to either look at it through the lens of the minority, look at it through the lens of race, look at it through the lens of the reader, which is your perspective, or through the authorial perspective, which would be the author or the producer or the creator of the work. So analysis really is essentially one of my favorite sorts of things to discuss, essentially because anything can be analyzed, anything can be looked at, anything can be questioned. And that's essentially what an analysis is. It's really just a detailed examination of the elements or structure of something, typically as a basis for discussion or interpretation. And that's what makes analysis great, is because it shows us that our world is colorful. It's not just black and white, and the way that we used to view one thing even decades ago might have a whole new complexion once we view it from a new analytical lens. So an analysis really examines an issue or topic by identifying the parts that make it up as a whole. So whether that happens to be a particular pattern that surfaces, an issue that is interpreted by a variety of various perspectives, or a concept that evolves into something bigger. So with analysis, essentially you can look at something relatively grandiose like our current political landscape, or you could look at something relatively specific, as is the case with the Nerdwriter page. If you've never visited the Nerdwriter page, I would highly recommend it. I use examples from here all the time. You simply go to YouTube, you type in Nerdwriter, all one word, and it comes up with a variety of different sorts of analysis and evaluations. These are also what is referred to as video essays, something that we will cover a bit more in detail later on in the semester when we get to the final proposal topic. However, one particular analysis that has always stuck out to me is his particular example of how Donald Trump answers a question. As you can see, it's been viewed over 6 million times, and basically, at the core of analysis is a particular question.
One of the things I find fascinating about Donald Trump is the way he uses language differently than other candidates for political office.
So here, he's breaking down something and looking at a very specific idea, the way Donald Trump uses language. Now, you could analyze things to a larger degree. Again, you can look at the entire political landscape. You can look at the conservative, the alt-right, the left, the liberals, but you can also go to the minutia. In this case, again, how someone uses language to persuade people. When it comes to the audience, in any rhetorical situation, your argument is crucial. Your goal when analyzing is to shed light on areas of discussion that have gone unnoticed to the respective audience. And sometimes that audience is new to the situation, and other times you may be speaking to experts. So depending on who your argument is or who your audience is, you are going to curb your particular vocabulary. Sometimes you might speak with a more elevated sort of tone, using a lot more terminology, different vocabulary, and other times your analysis might be a bit more colloquial. In this case, we might look at something and analyze the Women's March, which happened earlier this year. We might analyze women marching and speaking about issues relevant to not just them, but future generations of girls. Women speaking to political powers that will possibly be implementing new laws, or women speaking about strength and equality to other women. When it comes to intersection, analysis and analytical situations will intersect in terms of situation and topic. You might see gender analysis mixed with race analysis, spliced with culture and class. The great thing about analysis is that a situation can be viewed through a variety of different lenses. It means that it doesn't have to singularly belong to one particular interpretation. So, for example, say we analyze the modern community college. Community colleges are providing alternative educational platforms for students from all walks of life. Many two-year institutions rely heavily on their diverse student body. Or, instructors and educators are hired based on their real-world knowledge to help create a more pragmatic experience. Each of these are analytical points of views that sum up different perspectives regarding community college, but each of them all make an analytical claim. In an analysis, you break down your subject into parts or categories to help your reader understand it more clearly. So you have your initial claim, which might be presented here, but then you break that down. You deconstruct it to help articulate exactly which points of emphasis you want your audience to focus on. So for example, it was the perfect chain reaction of events. By the end of premiere week, the Disney movie Frozen was grossing an average of over $10 million per day, according to BoxOffice.com. Loved by both children and adults everywhere for its comedic elements and classic plot that involved romance and adventure, the film became a ravenous trend that gobbled up moviegoers throughout the United States and a multitude of nations across the globe. Paired with a power ballad soundtrack that would eventually be covered by almost every singer, both professional and unknown, Disney had once again shown its movie-making mastery. While the movie boasts positive feel-good messages of sisterly love and sacrificing oneself for an unselfish cause, it covers up a problematic and traditional Disney formula. This formula happens to be racism. Although Disney Studios has produced a select few characters of color, they are a minuscule in comparison to the whitewashed majority, thus perpetuating racial ideas and not allowing children of color to feel beautiful about themselves. So here, this particular analysis focused on not just the Disney culture at large, but focused on the elements of race within it. How do these particular sort of interpretations, these depictions, these caricatures of race, what type of impact might they have on their respective audience? Remember, your voice and tone should be that of inquiry and critical thought. You are not necessarily trying to suggest that any particular party or individual is wrong or convince anyone that your stance is definitively right. Your goal is to get the audience to view and understand your particular analysis and perspective. So unlike a complete argument, you are not necessarily trying to completely dismiss what an opponent might be saying. Your particular perspective in this case is one-sided. You are simply saying, take a look at my topic from this particular angle or this particular perspective, using these sort of guidelines or observations that I have to say, hey, that is a sort of interesting point of view that you have there, and it is plausible and it works because you've provided enough evidence to sort of support that idea. And so when we come to this idea of analysis throughout the next couple weeks, we're going to be looking at various lenses. So the psychoanalytic, the cultural lens, the minority lens, and the authorial and the reader response lens. As with this particular PowerPoint, I will give video background and additional examination of each of these particular topics in the PowerPoint section. So please make sure to reference these videos if you want additional perspective or information outside the singular walls of the PowerPoint itself.